Welcome back to Sub-Zero Hero, where I've come back a little bit earlier than I intended. We've not played that many games since the last episode, but so much has been going on behind the scenes. Well, it's been hard just to keep up with it all. We've got another coaching badge completed. We're a Continental B manager now, and we're also Norwegian Premier Division Manager of the Month, so you can see things must have been going okay on the pitch, but off it, you will not believe all of the events that we've been dealing with over the last month, starting with a very surprising job offer. So when the last job that you were headhunted for was AFC Bournemouth, it's a bit of a surprise that you're invited to attend an interview with Paris Saint-Germain, especially so when you've not won a thing in your 12-year managerial career. It was flattering, but we did turn PSG down. But they must have spotted something why they're out talking to us, because they then came in with a bid for Yuri Grachev. It was non-negotiable. It was quite a derisory offer, and I was quite glad that this time the board did not get involved. But with our board, you know, they're only ever one generous bid away from jumping in and accepting it on your behalf. And with the transfer window open, bids were coming in left, right and centre. AC Milan came back after another one of our players. This time was Paul Runnigan. They came in with a bid of £3 million. We weren't accepting that, so we tried to negotiate it up to £8 million. We scared Milan off and they disappeared for a week or so, but then they came back. And they came back showing that they meant business. A bid of £6.75 million came in, and I knew this was the kind of offer that would have our board looking on enviously. So I decided to resign myself to potentially having to lose another one of our players, but I was not going to lose him cheap. I was going to try and bid the offer up so that if Milan were going to take him from us, it would be on our terms. I asked them for £9 million up front, almost double what we got for our record transfer of Tromsdalen to Milan. We also put in lots of little add-ons, as well as him being loaned back to us and us getting a decent percentage of his next transfer fee as well. I half thought Milan would scurry off again, scared off by this, but they came back in £10 million up front, plus add-ons that would take the overall deal to over £12 million, and they're giving us the loan back, and they're giving us the percentage of that future fee. And I was actually quite contented with this as a deal, because at least I was the master of my own destiny this time. But then at the 11th hour, Rosenborg snuck in. It was a decent offer, granted. It was nearly £10 million again, and with the add-ons, it would have been worth more. But crucially, we were only going to get a percentage of the profit of the next sale, not the overall fee. I think that would have penalised us, and well, there was no loan back, and it would leave us without our striker going into the second half of the season. And what made this offer worse? The board jumped in and accepted it, even though I was already working on the deal with Milan. Fortunately, our old mate Runners saw sense. He decided Milan was the destination for him. And we had £10 million in our bank account plus Runnigan back for the next 12 months at least. It meant that we were able to go shopping straight away, and we have upgraded the works this time. So the training facilities are getting done. The youth facilities are getting done. Even the junior coaching budget has been increased. We're not improving the youth recruitment because that's already as good as it gets. Which means now we're looking at some pretty tasty facilities at this club once this work is all completed. Yes, we've lost Paul Runnigan in the long term, but we've got to keep selling these players on to improve the facilities so the next batch might be even better. And look at the facilities we've got now. Training facilities are great. Youth facilities are excellent. Both of those facilities are the same standard as Rosenborg's now, by the way. Our junior coaching is as good as it gets. Our youth recruitment is already as good as it gets. And I think you might disagree. You might say that the sale of Runnigan was a mistake, but I was fairly happy with this one, especially considering as it still left us after all of this work with £3.5 million as a little cushion to try and prevent the board selling off future players without even consulting us. So that's just a little flavour of what's been going on behind the scenes. Next, we're going to have to update you with the form and a rather pleasant league table. Okay, before we get into the league form, full disclosure time. Last episode was all about making progress to the Cup quarter-final, and I'm afraid that is the stage that we fell at because we were given a tough draw against Vålerenga. And although this was a tight and cagey affair with few chances for either side, they got the breakthrough in the 81st minute. We threw the kitchen sink at them in the last 10, but we were unable to make the breakthrough. So no cup glory for the boys this year. However, in the league, things have been a lot more encouraging. We could only beat a fourth tier team in the last episode 3-0. But when we were back in Premier Division action, well, we rattled in 5 goals. We had young Fjellingsdal getting the first goal for us. I know, young Fjellingsdal was actually making a start for us. He's got bravery of 4. He wants to be a striker with finishing of 7. And he's not got the greatest personality, but he'd been training pretty well and we had a couple of players missing. So we gave old Mjorten a start at only 15 years old. He actually played pretty well, so maybe he's not a complete write-off. He might have a future at the club yet. We also had a couple of goals for old Skog Van Pedersen, a couple for Runnigan. At this stage, he'd not signed for Milan yet, but that was a great win. Then we went out of the cup and we drew 0-0 to Lillestrøm before 3 games where we conceded in every one. But we have won them as well. I think we went a goal down when we were against Haugesund, but we came roaring back into life. Pedersen had to save a penalty for us, but then the rest of the game we looked pretty decent. Another goal for Skog Van Pedersen, one for Skogdal, a late injury time goal for Runnigan, and then we went into a game against Odd and we were victorious once more, 2-1 this time. Runnigan and Kim Heron getting on the score sheet before the Derby game. And Mr. Skog Van Pedersen, well, he just took over in this game. Granted, Tromsø had a man sent off pretty early, but Skog Van Pedersen was playing out of his skin in this game, and he was the man that won the game for us, netting a hat-trick in this game, one of them coming from the penalty spot, but his other 2 goals were very smart efforts indeed. He has been playing superbly, well, not just during the last few games, but throughout the whole season really, and to net a hat-trick in the derby, well, that really announces yourself as a player that's to be feared in this division. You'll also see that getting the cross in there was young Berntsen, who we've been playing at right back ever since that last episode, and he's rattled in 4 assists in 5 starts as a right back. So I guess you could say that's an experiment that's working as well, all of which means that we are doing pretty decently in the league. We're now up to 4th position. Regardless of who the winner of the cup is, I think 4th is enough to get European football this season. We'll keep you updated on that, but we're just over the halfway point of the season. Granted, if you're a glass half emptier, as I may well be accused of, we're only 3 points ahead of mid-table, and well, we're not that far ahead of dropping right down towards the relegation places. But let's look up. If we were to win our game today, which is a toughie, it's against Bodo Glimt, who are up there in 2nd. Well, that would put us on 29 points. And even if Lillestrøm won their game, they'd only be on 30. And we'd only be 3 points behind Bodo Glimt. So we'd actually be looking in pretty good form. However, getting a win against Bodo Glimt is going to be far easier said than done. Okay, we're up against a Bodo Glimt side today, managed by former Liverpool player Jon Arne Riise, and he's just been runner-up in the Manager of the Month award, so Bodo Glimt must be in some decent form themselves. They're 2nd in the table, so this is one of the tougher games we're going to have this season. And we're also the home team, which I'm not sure is a good thing. We've struggled at home recently. Our last 3 victories that we've had, well, they were all away games, I think. So Got a little bit of work on to try and get something out of this game. We're into the highlights even though we're only 2 minutes in. Remember, I've put an anchorman in there in a balanced mentality to try and prevent going down to early goals. We have conceded in our last 3, so we'll see whether it works for us today. We've got a Skog on the ball. It's Skogdal, but he's given the ball away, and this is a little bit of a scrappy highlight with both teams succeeding possession to each other. They're in though. Bratton deals with it well. And we managed to hack the ball clear. Bratton, he's coming into the final 6 months of his loan deal from Milan. I think he'll be at Milan next season and not with us. And what that is going to mean for our back four, I shudder to think we've got nothing past Jawad at centre half. We could move Heidecker back there, I suppose, but we would have a very small back line. And I'm not sure it would be up to Premier Division football. We are hoping that these improvements that are made to our facilities will allow us to develop our youngsters better once they join us, because we've got to get a centre half through the door and we've got to get them in the first team really quickly, because we are going to be struggling without Bratton at the back next season. Going forward, I've got a little bit more confidence, which is why I don't see losing Runnigan as the end of the world. I mean, he's only got finishing of 9, so we might be able to find a striker that can fill his shoes. I think, by the way, the man that could be the striker for us might actually be one of our Skogs. Skogvan came through mainly as a striker rather than a winger, and I think we could move him comfortably back up there with his acceleration of 16 and his pace of 14, finishing of 12. And I reckon he could be a decent option for us. And then, or maybe we could develop young Christian Tysperovic a little bit more on the right wing. However, back to today's game, because all that is things to worry about in the future. We've got worries of our own now, because all of the talk about trying to keep it tight early, and Jawad has been beaten in the air, which is what I mean about playing a 5'11" centre half whose jumping reach is only 11. And we find ourselves a goal down after a quarter of an hour, and we've got work to do. I don't panic at a goal down, because it's happened a few times this season and these boys have been able to drag themselves back into games. But it does make the job an awful lot harder, and we've not really seen much attacking play from us so far. And we know we're going to be weak at the back, and there's Jawad getting beaten in the air again. And now I'm afraid we are 2-0 down, and we look like we've brought you back for a defeat. It was a risky game to come back for, if I'm honest. We'd won 3 games on the bounce, but this was a different proposition altogether against a very good side. And we are very poor defensively. I've even looked, by the way, brace yourselves now. I've looked at that young striker Fjellingsdal to see whether maybe he could make a central defender. He's got bravery of 4, but he's 6'4", his physicals are great, he can tackle, he's got an 11. His positioning and marking aren't bad, but could you ever have a defender who's got bravery of 4? The mind boggles. That's how desperate things are getting. Young Heidecker, who's playing in front of the back 4 today, I really don't think he's the answer for us, you know. He just will not develop as Runnigan goes close. And we're only 17 minutes into this game. We're already 2-0 down. And the highlights are raining in thick and fast. I'm pretty sure that unless we get the next goal, we can forget this game. But if we do, and if that next goal is before half-time, you never know. A little comeback might be on. We've got the ball with Grachev. Sturvold's getting involved. Grachev needs to sling it over now. He has. Skogvan Pedersen is in. He's a danger in that box. This highlight continues. We've got the ball over again. And you know what? I reckon it's time that we nudge our mentality up. And maybe I'll have a look at the tempo that we're playing at as well. Maybe make a couple of tweaks. Okay, we've left the tempo as it is, but the mentality is up to positive. In the match stats are not disastrous. It's 8 shots and 4 on target, plays 7 shots and 3 on target. The only difference is, well, ours just don't go in. putting them under a bit of pressure though. Herum's got the ball. Bernsson's got the ball. Heidecker's involved. Sturvold, Herum, they're all getting in there. Skogvang Pedersen's got it over to Skogdal. And when you've got those two Skogs on the pitch, you've always got a chance. Skogdal's rescued the ball from the back of the net. He's back to the halfway line. Don't call this a comeback, Skogvang Pedersen. I think you'd say it's a mistake from their defender and their goalkeeper, but we are in the business of accepting charity when we're 2-0 down. Skogdal's got us back in the game. Nothing else. He's given us something to work with and to fight for. And those match stats, their XG's better, granted, but in terms of shots, they're looking pretty even, and we're getting our way into half-time. And we've got ourselves back in the game. Could we grab an equaliser as well? Runnigan's in. He struck the bar. Well, if that had gone in, it really would be all up for grabs in the second half. As it is, we are down. We're going to have a word with the boys. We're going to tell them that this is not good enough. We'll see you back out there for the second period. Okay, we're back underway. No changes in personnel. We're keeping our powder dry for the moment because we seem to have dragged ourselves back into this game, but we're not afraid to go 4-2-4 if we need to for the last 20 minutes. We've got Emperor on the bench. We've got a tactic train that's far more adventurous than this. If we are looking to grab an equaliser, we can always bring that one out of the armoury if we need to. But let's see if we can drag ourselves back into it with our 4-3-3. Doesn't look like it so far though, and they have just waltzed through our defence. Who was to blame this time, I hear you cry? Was it Bratton this time that missed his tackle? We'll take a look. Certainly Berntsson could have won the ball there. And they've slung it and he's got in behind Bratton. And rather than go over to the ball, Jawad has just run back towards his own goal. Okay, so we're going to have to get into the tactics. This is what I'm thinking to try and drag us back into the game. Hugo's the man you call at a moment like this. We'll switch Herum and Sturvold over. We might also drag little Kimi Herum off, in a little bit. He's not playing well. We might move Runnigan back there. And maybe bring Hartvigsson on, although that's a long time since he found the back of the net. We're also going to throw out a shout. We're going to demand more. We've got work to do again. If we could get a goal before 80 minutes, you never know. There's still a chance. We might grab a point. Skog's in. Skog to Skog again this time. It's the other way round. It was Skogdal to Skogvang Pedersen. Thwarted in his effort. Now little Bernsson's going. He gets those balls over. I like him as a wing back, but whoever has missed their challenge there has sold us out, and it's a disaster because Jawad has tackled it into the path of their forward. And wouldn't you know it, you are 3 winning games in a row. 4, 5 unbeaten. And you come back, you get absolutely walloped. Yes, by a good team. But we're going to face good teams. We've got to keep them out. We're 4-1 down. And look at them. They are running riot. We've got Grachev on the ball. Maybe it was all just too offensive from the outset for this game. Maybe I need a 4-5-1 formation when we're playing these top teams. But sometimes we do well against the top teams. We've beaten Vålerenga. We beat Bodo Glimt at the start of the season. We regularly beat Brann when we play them. Granted, we get smashed by Rosenborg every time we play them, but I don't know. Certainly food for thought. We've hit the bar once more. I think that was Skogdal this time. It's not like we've been without chances, but we have been punished by a ruthless Bodo Glimt. And that could be happening again because they are pouring forward once more. And I think, we're going to have to admit that we're not going to get back into this game. And we really need to tighten things up. We've got nearly half an hour left. This could finish 6 or 7. I'm going to nip in and make things a bit more defensive. Okay, we've switched to a 4-1-4-1 just to try and prevent being on the end of a beating that really would sap morale. We've thrown another effort towards goal. These are all long ranges though, aren't they? We've not really carved any good openings, but look at the match stats. We're on 17 shots now. And we're 4-1 down. The opposition are just far more ruthless than we are. Hugo has got one back for us. We actually look just as threatening since we dropped to a 4-1-4-1 as we did when we were playing a 4-2-4. Skogvang Pedersen may just have got his second assist of the game as well. Both with his head. And Emperor's tucked one away. Those match stats are fairly even. We're a little unlucky, I think, but when you don't take your chances and you're up against players that are finishing like that, oh, well, an even game can be ending 5-2 in the blink of an eye. And we really are up against it. Do we need to see more of this humiliation? Okay, God willing, that is going to be the end of the scoring. I still don't think that's a 5-2 game, looking at those match stats. A lot of that game, we were on a balanced mentality and we had 20 shots, 8 of them on target. But they were pretty clinical. Skogvang Pedersen's played well, Skogdal's played well, Emper's come on and impressed. Otherwise, that was a pretty gutless performance, and we're going to tell them, you know what, they're going to be in training tomorrow, and I think they're going to be working on some aerial defence given that display. I know they're a good team. In fact, that win takes them to the top of the table. Although Rosenborg have a game in hand, we're still there in 4th place. But we've got much work left to do. So we're going to go away. We're going to play a few more games offline. We're going to try desperately to keep ourselves in contention for some European football, because that really could be the start of these boys becoming Sub-Zero heroes.